Hello and welcome back to another video on SW Fight Hub. We're going to be making a prediction for the announced IBF Heavyweight Championship of the World fight between elevated champion Daniel Dubois and challenger Anthony Joshua at Wembley Stadium on the 21st of September. Dan Rafael broke the news last night that Daniel Dubois will be upgraded from interim IBF Heavyweight Champion to full champion after Alexander Usyk decided to vacate his belt. So yeah, we're going to get an all-British heavyweight world championship fight at Wembley Stadium, which is an exciting prospect. I think it's going to be a very interesting fight. I think people aren't giving Daniel Dubois enough credit in this one. The narrative very early on seems to be that Filip Hrgović could land all these right hands on Daniel Dubois early. If AJ lands them, then he's going to be asleep. So on and so forth, which is correct. If Anthony Joshua loads up and lands big right hands, Daniel Dubois is not going to be able to take them. But I think it'd be pretty naive to think that Don Charles and Kieran Farrell and Team Dubois, are going to want to eat right hands of Anthony Joshua all night. I think they'll address that problem in training camp. I think Daniel Dubois needs a ton of credit. He's wrote off after his defeat to Joe Joyce. Wrote off after the performance against Usyk. The matchmaking has been phenomenal from Queensberry Promotions, to get in the gut check against Jarrell Miller. Came through a really tough fight and stopped him in the last round. And then went in as a huge underdog against Filip Hrgović as well. Hrgović started well, but Dubois just came on so strong and bullied him, cut him up and eventually, stopped him on a cut. But, he's well on his way to knocking out Filip Hrgović. So, the narrative that it's a foregone conclusion, to me, I just don't see it. I think Dubois can cause AJ problems. It's just not a case for me of AJ just going to blow him out in 2 rounds and just hit him with the right hands because Filip Hrgović was able to hit him, non-stop. Each fighter takes each fight differently, and that's the way I believe AJ and Dubois will go. It's no secret that AJ is looking phenomenal under Ben Davison. His run of fights, since the second Usyk defeat, he fought Jermaine Franklin, then had the spectacular KO over Robert Helenius. Then since joining Ben Davison, he's looked really well against Otto Wallin. Obviously Tyson Fury didn't put his best performance in against Wallin. Another guy Tyson Fury didn't put his best performance in against, former UFC champion Francis Ngannou, who AJ just dispatched him, put him to sleep in a couple of rounds or whatever it was. But, we need to address the fact that AJ hasn't fought anybody as good as Daniel Dubois, since the Usyk rematch. It's by far his toughest test since then. So, yes, AJ's been looking spectacular. Yes, he's been putting people away and, looks to have, his confidence back and looks to be able to pull the trigger again, which is kind of what he went away from, or what he was missing. He's boxing very defensively in the Jermaine Franklin fight, so on and so forth. Helenius until he got the big KO. So, yeah, I think the narrative is wrong in my opinion. I might be way off as well. But I think this fight's going to go a lot longer than what people think. I think Daniel Dubois is a lot tougher than people give him credit for as well. Ultimately had a horrific eye injury in the Joe Joyce fight, which is labelled a quitter for a long time. Obviously the Usyk performance, yes, he was stopped, but he did have his moments there. But ultimately, Usyk was too good. Usyk was too good for Joshua as well. We have to remember. I do think Anthony Joshua is going to win this fight, but I do think Dubois is going to have moments in it as well. I really do. I think Joshua is going to get him out there late. Maybe rounds 9 or 10. Would not surprise me in one facet at all if Anthony Joshua takes the canvas in this fight. People need to remember how hard Daniel Dubois can punch too. He is a real puncher. Puts punches behind his jab really well. Did a really good adjustment, a really good job in that Hrgović fight. After he was getting, lit up a little bit in the first few rounds with those right hands. In the end, he noticed that and he did make the required adjustments. So he's not going to have that luxury against AJ. He really isn't. AJ's a much bigger puncher than Filip Hrgović. AJ puts them together a lot better. So much more snap. But yeah, I think it's generally going to be a really competitive, fun fight. I really do. I've got AJ securing the late stoppage, but I think we need to give Daniel Dubois a lot more credit for his recent performances. And just writing him off and saying AJ is going to blast him out in a few rounds, I just really don't see it from myself personally. But I'd be interested to hear what everybody else thinks. Please let me know in the comments. Is AJ going to blast Dubois out in a couple of rounds? Does Dubois have a chance of winning this? I give him a chance, but I do ultimately think AJ is going to stop him at some point. AJ cracks that hard. I think, if he lands on your chin flush, which I do expect him to do at some point against Dubois, that, you are going to go away. So, yeah, let me know what you think about it, guys. AJ Dubois announced September the 21st at Wembley. It's going to be for the IBF Heavyweight Championship of the World. Daniel Dubois defending against Anthony Joshua. Thanks for watching.